Today on the Wiltfong Whip Round with Steve Wiltfong, the Oregon USC recruiting rivalry. It's red hot right now. We're going to talk USC and we're going to talk Oregon. Then we'll stay out west, talk a little UCLA. Then we're going to head to the Midwest and cover Michigan and Indiana. Oh, I also got to tell you, today, Steve is on spring break with his family, but we have a couple experts in Greg Biggins and Alan True that are going to cover for him. So we got a big show. Let's get to it. We're talking Oregon recruiting. The Ducks have lost a couple battles this week on the recruiting trail. Danny Lang to USC. Offensive lineman Drew Fielder flipped to USC. Former Oregon wide receiver commit Keyshawn Bowman to Tennessee. But, guys, it's not April, so we're not panicking yet. Hell, we're not even to the summer yet. So there is zero panic on this channel when it comes to Oregon recruiting. And we're going to start with a flip target of their own. The Ducks are pursuing UGA commitment Dante Wright. Now, he was recently at Miami. But, Greg, do you like where the Ducks stand with this phenomenal prospect out of California?
I do. And I don't think you need to panic if you're an Oregon fan, just to piggyback on that. Oregon's going to be just fine. They always are. Dante Wright was at Miami, had a great visit. Miami's coming hard. And Miami's one of those few schools that when it comes down to it, and I always use the word incentivize, Miami can get you for a lot of different ways other than just, hey, great football program, great coaching staff. But I like where Oregon's at. Rashad Wadoud has been recruiting this kid since 8th grade, knows him, knows the family well. It's so weird to talk about a player and not even mention the school he's committed to, Georgia. Dante Williams has done a great job getting him locked in early. But my favorite phrase, if signing day was today, I really think Dante Wright would be a Duck. And I think the kid is pretty special. I think he's got a chance to finish as one of the top 1, 2, 3 corners in the country. I think he's got top 3 lockdown corner potential, long, fast, athletic, mean, tough, plays with an angry edge to him. Checks off all the boxes. So I think Dante Wright, Oregon, I like it right now for Oregon.
Yeah, they are going hard after him. And one of the reasons why is we had Oregon insider Max Torres on this channel a couple times, and he said that Oregon's emphasis this cycle is certainly on the defensive back position. So that's why the commitment of Danny Lang to USC stings a little, but it makes Hayden Stepp out of Las Vegas a even bigger priority. So where do you think things stand with Stepp, and can Oregon land him?
I do. I think Oregon probably leads. I think it's close. I think Alabama is right there. Those are the two schools. Clemson is involved. He's going to visit Cal later this week. And Cal pulled off kind of a surprise yesterday. Miles Baker committed with you, which was awesome to see, right? So watch out for Cal. Cal's involved with Hayden Stepp. But Oregon, I think, is the school, has done a great job recruiting Bishop Gorman kids over the last 3 or 4 years. It's closer to home. I heard that could be a little bit of an impact for him and the family. Alabama is a school he grew up loving, the tradition, especially the DB tradition. So don't ever rule out Alabama for anybody. But again, signing day was today. I think Hayden Stepp, I think Oregon probably has that slight edge right now.
Okay, so let's stay at the defensive back position for a minute. What other DBs would you say Oregon leads for right now?
So let's talk about Josiah Molden for a second. His dad was a legend at Oregon. Alex Molden played on one of our first Rose Bowl teams way back in the Rich Brooks days. But I think Josiah loves Oregon. I think it's them in Washington. Washington Huskies have done a great job recruiting DBs. He had an older brother who played for UW and was a 3rd-round pick. So, again, don't rule out the Huskies. But Oregon, no predictions are in yet. A little bit surprised about that one. But I think Oregon is looking really good. And I think he's underrated. He's a top 200, top 250 player nationally. Just one of the more technically sound corners. Football IQ off the charts. He's decent to good athletically. He's got some length. He's got some ability to play nickel. He can play some safety. He can play some boundary corner, move him around. He does everything well. Oregon, I think, has the best shot to land Molden. You land Dante Wright, Hayden Stepp, and Josiah Molden. Those are 3 really, really good DBs. That'll probably be one of the top 2 or 3 DB classes in the country. They land all 3 of those guys.
Yeah, that would be a really impressive haul. Now, let's circle back to kind of how I introed this segment and talk. And I'm saying this in a non-panicked voice, but what do you make of USC's momentum in the state of California in the last 18 months when it comes to the top guys? Like, is this an actual problem for Oregon, or is it kind of the ebbs and flows of recruiting? And do you think they need to adjust their strategy at all?
Yeah, no, I'm smiling because I just think of the "All Is Well" meme from from one of my best movies of all time, Animal House. No, I think, dude, you nailed it. It's ebbs and flows. Every cycle is different. Now, I think
Yeah.
people are saying, shoot, last year, though, they flipped a couple of our guys, referring to USC,
Yeah.
Jonas Williams and Tom Thumb. So, it's just becoming more of a pattern than maybe a one-off. Never worry if you're Oregon. Oregon's able to recruit nationally. And, I'm a
Right.
California guy, but I've been kind of beating up California a little bit, saying, hey, I think our players right now, we're going through a little bit of a downturn. NFL draft, Georgia is now above California 5 years in a row. So if you need to go and try to protect California, I would say, man, make sure you protect the right kids. And it's not enough to say, oh, we're going to put a fence around this whole state. Well, the whole state isn't as good as it was 10 years ago. So again, I think Oregon, they're still going to recruit Northern California and Southern California. They're still going to pick their spots. They're still going to be strategic. Now, USC has been able to flex and say, hey, when it comes down to me and then somebody else, we're going to go ahead and up the ante. We're going to incentivize that player. And we're going to lock him in. And they've been able to do that. They haven't missed on too many players referring to USC. But if you're Oregon, you still love who you are, what you're about. You have a recruiting machine in place. You have a great staff. You have a great team. You have a great development. You have the best facilities in the country. There's so much to sell. So you're not going to suddenly stop recruiting Southern California because you've missed out on a few kids. You're still going to be aggressive and go after them hard and, see what happens.
All right. Let's end this segment on a good note. Not speaking about this, just the state of California, but who else do you feel right now Oregon is sitting in good shape with in the 2027 cycle?
Yeah, a lot of guys that we've talked about, we're still waiting. Dakota Grant, I'm still hearing. We talked about him last time. Oregon still leads. I think Oregon still leads for Noah Roberts. Will Menzel, watch out for Auburn, but Oregon is still right there. Linebackers, Braden Feaster, Oregon still leads. Toa Satelli, USC, Oregon. I think Oregon leads. So Oregon is involved with a ton of guys nationally. They're doing well with a ton of guys nationally. Offensive lineman, Lex Malangi, Mater Dei kid. Oregon leads. So I think they're in a place where they have great plan B options, and these plan B options will be plan A options for just about every other school. So again, April, May, you still don't panic. Oregon's going to finish with a top 10 class. I would be shocked. But hey, let's get some commitments. If you're an Oregon fan, you're like, hey, I know we lead. Let's get these guys to jump in the boat. I think that's where they're at right now.
Yeah. Let's get some commitments. Oregon fans, put it in the comment section below. How we feeling about this USC Oregon rivalry? We're not panicking, but if you are panicking, then write in all caps. Put it in all caps in the comment section below how we are feeling about Oregon recruiting. Let's talk a little USC as the Trojans. I know we said that they're not going to make it another back-to-back #1 class, but they're currently up to number 5 in the Rivals industry rankings. On Sunday, USC beat Notre Dame for elite linebacker Josiah Poyer. Danny Lang committed earlier in the week, and USC is red hot heading into the weekend. We saw another big rivalry flip. Drew Fielder, an Oregon commitment, is now a USC commitment. How did USC flip the big old offensive tackle from California?
Family ties, Josh. And I've seen some people upset online saying, if USC was the dream school, why did he even commit to Oregon in the first place? And USC hadn't offered at the time he committed. And there was no, that happens sometimes, right?
Yeah.
And there was no real idea if that was going to happen. So I think, Drew, and we talked about it before with you.
Mm-hmm.
When I say family ties, we're talking like strong. We're talking like this kid wore, USC diapers. His dad has an MBA in business from USC. His grandfather and great uncle played on the national championship team at USC way back in the day. So, this is the school the kid dreamed about going to. Wasn't really hearing much from USC. He's kind of a developmental late bloomer. I love the kid personally. I love where we have him ranked. He's a trend up guy, but he was a tight end 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Last year was the first year he actually played offensive tackle. He put on 40 pounds, Josh, in the last year. So what it looks like now is radically different than what he looked like a year ago. So Oregon was on him first. Credit Oregon for, a strong early eval. And then after more schools had a chance to watch him, USC kind of reevaluated him. And they made it clear, hey, we're sorry we were a little bit late on the offer, Drew. We wanted to watch, get the 26 class locked in, and then we're going to go ahead and evaluate 27s. Once they did, they loved him. Got him on campus twice. And like I said, for Drew, he was going to USC the second they offered, no matter who else was involved like that. That's the school. Yeah. That's where he grew up with. He's a Trojan. Oregon did a great job recruiting him. It happens sometimes, right? It goes the other way, other direction too. So credit USC, credit Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
Drew Fielder, he's a Trojan right now.
All right. So I get it. He's got family ties. But when you kind of zoom out on what's happening right now with USC recruiting, especially in the state of California, you go back about 2 years to when 2 or 3 years when Lincoln Riley arrived and wanted to put a fence around the state of California when it came to recruiting. Now that fence had a lot of holes early on. It almost became a joke the way that other teams were coming in. But in the last 18 months, 12 months or so, USC has really established themselves within the state borders, especially when it comes to battles against Oregon. So does it seem like USC right now has the upper hand when it comes to top recruits in the state of California?
They do. And, the elephant in the room, NIL is playing a huge role. And I know people want to always say, Oregon, they're the only reason why they got players because they're paying for them. You know what? Guess what? Everyone's doing it. Everyone's paying for players. No one's playing for free right now. And USC has done a great job, within the rules of getting a Tom Tapui to flip from Oregon last year, to getting a Kenny Dixon-White to flip from Ohio State. This year, it's Danny Lang, was an Oregon lean. USC came in and said, hey, they incentivized him. And I just want to make sure I'm clear. No one goes to a school just because of the money. They're not going to go to Fresno State for equal money that USC is giving them. No shots at the Bulldogs. But if you have a school that's in your top 3 to top 4, a lot of times, whoever gives you the best deal is going to have the best chance to get you. And right now, USC is being very aggressive on key guys. Not everybody, on Honor Falave Johnson, on a Danny Lang. Some of these guys, I don't think Drew Fielder made a financial decision. He was USC. It was the opportunity to play for Coach Hansen close to home at USC. Money wasn't really a big issue for him. Other players, it has been. And I think USC's kind of been flexing a little bit right now. Their NIL is extremely strong. Chad Ballin's doing a great job of managing that. And so, yeah, right now in Southern California specifically, I would give USC the edge on Oregon when it comes to recruiting. Now, again, you probably saw a bunch of different articles yesterday, or, our buddies at Scoop Duck said, hey, look at the on-field record right now. Oregon is still the better team on the field. And until USC starts winning, it's a great rivalry, but is it really a rivalry if we won the last, 3 or 4 times?
But we're just getting to the fruits of that USC success on the trail, because it hasn't been the entire time Lincoln Riley's been here. I mean, he recruited some good players to USC, but to see what they've done in the last 12 months, 18 months, it's different. And and like you said, you can see USC fans kind of taking a different approach to recruiting. Back 3-4 years ago, we would lose a guy and it's Nike money. He can go take the Nike money. But now USC got their piggy bank in order, and now we're both kind of taking big swings at the same guys. It's been fun to see.
No fan ever wants to think a kid chose their school because of money. No, it's not. That has nothing to do with money. It's because of our tradition. It's because our great coach. No, it's financial. Carries a ton of weight. It is making a huge impact right now. And again, you credit USC, Lincoln, Chad for playing within the rules. They're getting dudes, and like I said, they're recruiting at a much higher level right now than Lincoln's first couple of years, and we'll see if it pays off on the field. I think it will. Which, for me being a West Coast guy, I'm kind of excited to see kind of another school other than Oregon and even Washington kind of competing on that national level.
Yeah, I mean, recruiting takes it takes a minute for things to cook and develop, but USC fans, they want it now. And like you said, it's got to turn around on the field to ultimately have that dominance in state, and they got a great opportunity to fix that in September. But let's not get ahead of ourselves right now. Let's talk more recruiting when it comes to the Trojans. Who else do you feel USC is trending for?
Yeah, so I want to say Thursday, Javon Vital, running back out of Louisiana, our boy Sam Spiegelman. Spiegs has a prediction for USC. He's one of the top running backs in that Southwest or Southeast, whatever you identify Louisiana with. So USC, they want to get a running back in this class. This is a guy they kind of, earmarked. They've had success with players in Louisiana, Texas area. So Vital is a guy, and a few more players that I'm kind of keeping my eyes on. Wide receiver wise, we didn't talk about. They just picked up a huge commitment from Roy Oliver, who's a 2028, who might reclassify to 2027. And if he does, I think he's one of the top 5 receivers out west in the 2027 class. I think USC might be done with the slot wide receiver position, but the big wide receiver position, Charles Davis. Again, it's going to come down to USC and Oregon. Oregon tight end, USC, Jacoby Lane, big hybrid outside wide receiver. I think it's going back and forth right now. Again, I think NIL will probably play a role, but watch out what happens with Charles Davis. Very, very interested with him. And then obviously there's some defensive players they're still in on. You mentioned Josiah Poyer. I think he's a very underrated guy. He plays hard, maniacal effort from St. John Bosco, well coached, does everything well. DB wise, they're still taking some shots. They would still love to try to land a big fish like a Dante Wright or whatever. But I think for the most part, Gavin Williams at safety, I think they're pretty content with the DBs they have. Pole Mawala, they're still trying to get, we talk about reclass. He just reclassified last week. They're trying to get back in with him. But again, that safety money is kind of already, gone to Honor and Danny Lang. But again, not a huge class like we've said, but I'm fascinated to see what their player per ranking is. It's going to be very high. I love what USC is doing. Selective, but very, very good class so far.
All right, Trojan fans, talk with Greg and me about these rivalry battles. The tide is turning. How are you guys feeling? It's not over. This is the offseason. We're talking rivalry recruiting, so jump in the comment section. Let me know who the next big battle for USC will be over. Put it in the comment section below. We're talking UCLA recruiting because the Bruins are starting to cook on the trail. Yesterday, they landed a 6'3", 215-pound linebacker out of New Mexico. Top 250 overall. Greg Biggins, what is UCLA getting in Colton McKibben?
Yeah, no, I love this pickup. Committed sight unseen, Josh. He's going to actually visit this week for the first time, but you watch the film, and there's a lot to like. I mean, he's got that prototype 6'2", 6'3" linebacker frame, 215, is an elite athlete. We love the track profile. We love the weightlifting profile. He does all those lifts, clean and jerk in the press, and all that fun stuff. He runs the 100, throws a shot, discus. So he's a well-rounded athlete. We love the profile there, but watch the field, watch the tape. Again, classic inside linebacker is going to probably give some, dare I say, Carson Schwasinger vibes. Instincts off the charts. He really can flash. Lateral mobility is excellent. He can run and bang downhill, covers, plays in space. He's a trend up guy. Again, if you got to play in New Mexico, you better be really, really good. Your film better really, really pop because the competition isn't going to be the highest. He's got that film that pops. He has all the athletic traits you want to see. 250 player, and for me, a trend up guy as well. I love the pickup for UCLA.
Yeah, great addition to this commit list that only has 3 on it right now, but there's more to come. So let's talk about the quarterback position because, once you get a quarterback in place, dominoes start falling all around there. What is UCLA looking at when it comes to the quarterback board right now?
Yeah, so it's a little small, Josh. 2 guys with offers right now. Dane Weber they would kill to land Dane Weber, and they're right there, right? I don't think Dane has a leader among a group. He just visited Michigan. Love to visit. Cincinnati, Kansas were the 2 schools involved early. Cal's heavily involved. He would love a USC offer. But I think UCLA is right there. No one's recruiting him harder. They've gotten on campus multiple times. Another quarterback to watch out of Arizona, Blake Roscoff. North Carolina, kind of might have the most buzz right now. I always say follow the visits. He only has 1 official trip set so far. That's to North Carolina. So those are the 2 guys on the board with offers. Now, another name I'm going to throw out, Chance Thomas. Played at Western High School, kind of a little bit of a sleeper, a late bloomer that's really grown on me. I like this kid. UCLA likes him as well. So they haven't offered yet, but I think they're kind of waiting to see what happens with Roscoff and also Weber. If they lose both those guys, I could see Thomas getting an offer. And if he does, I think he would probably walk to UCLA to commit to him. Man, I think he likes him a lot. And I think that would be a great fit for both sides.
All right. So now when it comes to non-quarterback targets, what other names do you feel UCLA is in the mix with right now?
So they're going big game hunting on a lot of guys, a lot of in-state guys. They're going to get an official visit from Dante Wright. Now, I think that's a long shot, but they're trying, right? They're going to throw their hat in that ring. Gavin Williams is an elite safety. They're going to get a visit from him. Notre Dame is probably the team to beat right there, and USC is still trying. Pole Mawala, they have a visit set with him. Again, I don't know if they're in the top 2 or 3 right now, but they are trying. So a lot of local guys are really trying to go. We talk so much about building the fence. Jeremiah Williams is a D tackle from Tustin High School. They went after him hard, and also his teammate John Ione, who recently committed to Washington. But they would love to land Jeremiah Williams. Blake Wong is a top 300 receiver. It's UCLA, it's Oregon, it's Ohio State. So, Oregon, Ohio State, not really easy to recruit against. But again, UCLA is, they're throwing their hat in that ring. So Jacoby Doyle out of Washington, they have an official trip set up with him. It might be tough to get him away from Oregon and Washington, but again, they're trying. So a lot of offers out right now. They have a lot of trips set up with a lot of elite players, not just West Coast, but nationally. I don't know if they lead for a lot of these guys right now. I think a lot of people are kind of want to wait and see, right? Bob Chesney is doing everything right. And then every time the guy speaks, I'm ready to go, man. He gets me kind of fired up. I think they want to kind of see, hey, let's see the product on the field. And I could see if UCLA starts to win a few games and maybe
Yeah.
show something, I could see some momentum carrying on. Right now, a little bit on the slow on the recruiting side. They had a great portal class, I thought, a top 25 class, but high school recruiting wise, a little bit on the slower side. So I think it could be some trepidation, wanting to see the team on the field, and then I think things could definitely trend up if they play well.
Yeah, and like you said, they have the ear right now. At least they
Mhm.
have the ear. Not saying that they're going to land all these guys, but they have the ear of a lot of elite in-state prospects. What do you think it is? Is it the energy coming from the football facility? Is it an opportunity to play early? Like, why right now is UCLA picking up traction on the trail?
So I've always said UCLA is one of the few schools that recruits itself, and this isn't a shot, but they haven't been good or
Right.
relevant in a long time, and they've always still had really good recruiting classes outside of those, outside of the Chip Kelly recruiting classes where he just didn't want to recruit at all.
Hmm.
But you go back to even with Durrell and Neuheisel and more, they consistently were bringing in classes that were way better than their record should have allowed them to have. And I think people want to go to UCLA. It's a great campus, and there's so much more tradition than people think. Again, they've been bad for a long time. People like UCLA was actually good. I mean, yeah, look at all pros and Super Bowl winners and even like AP top 25. UCLA is like top 15 of all time. And we just don't know it because UCLA has been bad for a long time. So this new staff, Bob Chesney, man, he's amazing. Like listen to him speak and his background as a program builder. And they've also hired what I think is probably their best support staff. For years, UCLA never really bothered with much of a support staff. So they got a lot of guys in that support staff that are doing a great job, a GM who's doing a great job. They're connecting with a lot of kids. They're doing a great job connecting with parents and high school coaches in the area, and even from a national standpoint. So I think kids are fired up. They're excited. It's just UCLA right now, no point for second place, right? They're going to probably finish second or third on a lot of guys, which sucks. But I kind of think it does show that, hey, they're going in the right direction. No points for second, but hey, at least we got our hat in the ring, and hopefully we can land some of these guys. I think, again, NIL, where are we at there? I don't fully know. I don't think it's, a top 25 school from NIL, but I also don't think it's a bottom 25 either. It's going to be, smack in the middle in the Big Ten. So
Hmm.
all that's going to play a role, win some games. Coaches are going to do a great job connecting. NIL, if it's equal or even a little bit less, I think they're going to land some guys.
Let's talk a little Michigan. We're going to start in the trenches on the defensive line. We got two monsters in the middle that Michigan sits in good shape with, but can they land them both? We're going to start with Marcus Fakatu, and then we're going to talk about David Fall-Run-Show. But Marcus Fakatu was on a recent visit to Michigan. Now that the emotions of that trip have kind of died down a little bit, what do you make of his recruitment to the Wolverines?
Yeah, I think Michigan is clearly one of the top schools there. I think you could argue they are the top school. Them and Georgia kind of neck and neck right now. The thing about his recruitment is he has great relationships with the staff going back to both BYU with Jay Hill and Utah with Lewis Powell and Kyle Whittingham. So he has multiple relationships on that staff. Really likes Michigan's academics. They've really pushed that and sold him on life after football. So they can develop him when he gets there on the football field, and they can set him up for life after football. I think that's going to make a huge difference. Michigan, huge chance to add him to the class.
All right, now let's go to the state of Illinois where we got David Fall-Run-Show. Are there also connections there from this staff that was over at Utah before, or is this a direct connection to Michigan?
Yeah, very little connection prior to this other than Larry Black coming in from Vanderbilt. He had offered David back there, but Michigan was largely on the outside looking in. They weren't even in his top five
Right.
when he announced that. But they've quickly been able to climb into it and not only work themselves into that group, but he's planning on coming for a late May official. They have to really lock that in. If that date gets locked in, look out for Michigan here. They've come from way outside to now being in the top group.
Yeah, and he's a major outlier right now for Rivals. We have him ranked as the number 2 defensive lineman in America on the industry. He's the 28th, so we'll probably see those numbers come a little bit closer, but we are very high on Fall-Run-Show here at Rivals. Let's go out to California for a minute. Darius Johnson seems like a battle between Michigan and Oklahoma for a California prospect. Is that right?
That is correct. And, a lot of people think that this is a new thing with this staff coming in Michigan recruiting out west. But from as far back as Tom Brady to as recently as Mason Graham, they've always recruited the state of California, and especially at this cornerbacks position where Gennaro Guilford, their new cornerbacks coach, is an LA native. He's recruited out there quite a bit at BYU, and he was Darius's first offer. So that is the big reason that Michigan is arguably in the lead or right there with Oklahoma. He's coming back for June 19th official. So Michigan's going to get the final official visit for him. So I think there's a really strong chance that Michigan's able to pull him from the West Coast and add him to the class.
Yeah, really, really interesting recruitments here. Now, let's go back in state, talk about the number one player in the state of Michigan, Dakota Grant. We've been talking about him all offseason long. Seems like Oregon, seems like Michigan, seems like maybe even Ohio State is involved there. How do you see his recruitment right now as it stands?
So I do have Oregon in the lead, as many people do. I actually think the number 2 right there might be Texas A&M, who he visits this week, and they've done a really good job recruiting him. Michigan has worked their way into this recruitment very quickly, though. He has an official visit set to Michigan in June, which he doesn't have to use an official on Michigan. He's right down the road. He can pop in there anytime. He actually just did for spring practice, which he decided that almost kind of day of. He could do that just about any time he wants to. So to use up an official visit weekend when he doesn't have many and he wants to take officials to maybe Ohio State, Miami, some schools that are further away where he would have to use that official visit. I think that setting of a June official to Michigan, a school he can drive to anytime, shows that he's going to give Michigan a real chance here to try to overtake Oregon and in my opinion, Texas A&M.
All right, let's stay in state. How about that? The number 2 ranked player in the state of Michigan is offensive tackle Jakari Lipsey. He goes 6'5", 290, and Michigan definitely heavily involved. But Alan, he's been taking some trips. Where do you think Michigan stands right now?
Yeah, I think this is like the opposite of Dakota Grant, where Dakota Grant is leaning out of state, Michigan trying to pull him back towards the state. I think Jakari is leaning, staying in state with Michigan. He just took a unofficial visit up there and ended up staying an extra day and as an official book to Michigan, but they do have to fight their way through some out-of-state visits. He hasn't been out of state or out to the West Coast before. He's going to visit UCLA. He's going to go down to LSU. And then he's going to get out to Wisconsin and Minnesota as well. But I actually think it's the Bruins and the Tigers who have the best chance to try to pull him away from Michigan. Going into those visits, though, I think he's Michigan's to lose.
All right, we hit on just a fraction of what is going on with Michigan recruiting. We're going to continue talking about the Wolverines all offseason, so make sure you guys are subscribed to this channel. But in the meantime, talk to me. How are you guys feeling about this offseason of recruiting? A little bit different from last one. Who are your top targets? How do you feel? Let us know. Comment section below. Let's talk Indiana Hoosier recruiting. The national champions. Indiana out on the trail. They got some buzz around them. We're going to do a couple updates here. And yes, we're going to talk 5-star Mon-Shun sales. But first, let's head to East St. Louis, where we got cornerback Raheem Floyd. And it seems like this battle's heating up, Alan. Where does Indiana stand?
Yeah, I have Indiana as the leader. I know Steve Wiltfong recently joined me on a prediction for Indiana. He was just on campus again. He's got an April official to come back to Bloomington, but the battle has heated up because he just picked up an offer from Texas. And I think there's interest in visiting Texas. He's talked about visiting Florida State. I know Indiana would really love to get this one wrapped up. And especially, you don't set April official visits with the intention that letting those guys leave and go on their May and June officials. So he's got one set to Wisconsin. I know Mizzou's still trying with them, but I think Indiana would love to get that thing wrapped up in late April. And we think that they have a really strong chance of doing that.
Yeah, it just seems like this offseason, and I know coming off a national championship, you're going to say, of course there's more momentum, but it seems like spots are also at a premium. And when guys get these Indiana offers, they got to really consider, like, do I want a spot in this class? Do you get the sense that things are different this offseason?
Yeah, very much so. And I think the aggressiveness that they coach with and that they recruit with, you can see that when it translates over to the trail. I talked about Raheem taking a April official. They have quite a few guys taking spring visits and April officials. And I think that's with the intention that we're going to get aggressive and try to close some of these guys out. And I do think that they will add to this class before the start of May.
All right, couple wide receivers, Brandon Sharp, but we're going to start with Mon-Shun Sales, the 5-star wide receiver, the number 1 player in the state of Indiana. The predictions have been rolling in for Alabama, but Indiana not going down without a fight here. What's the latest on sales? Was he just recently on campus as well?
Yeah, he actually ended up not being able to make that visit. It was scheduled. He's trying to reschedule that. I do expect him on campus in Bloomington prior to his official. I'm with the Alabama predictions. I haven't made one, but I know that Alabama is the lead school right now, but don't count out Indiana. If I'm Alabama, that's the school I'm most worried about. And the big reason for that, in talking to sources close to him, relationships. It's not just with one coach. He's got it with head coach Kurt Signetti. He has it with offensive coordinator, receivers coach Mike Shanahan, and the assistant receivers coach there, Eddie Burke's done a really great job too. So he has multiple relationships up there, and they've really prioritized and made him feel like you are the number one piece to this class. Very, very important that we keep you in state, and we can do some great things with you in this offense. And so he's definitely listening to that. It's resonating, but if he picks IU, it's going to be because of the relationships that he has on that staff.
All right. Now, how about another in-state target here? We got Brandon Sharp. Brandon Sharp. He's out of Brownsburg, Indiana, and he's been offered. How big of a priority is he right now for the Hoosiers, and which way do you think he's leaning?
Yeah, I think he's become a huge priority because they had Jahai Brown in the class. He decommitted, ended up flipping over to Louisville. And so a slot receiver that can make some things happen after the catch is a big priority. That's Brandon's game. So he has an official visit set up with Indiana. And I think right now they're the lead school. I think they have a chance to maybe close that one out prior to when he gets on campus for that official. But certainly going into that official visit, he's a priority and a guy that I think they lead for.
All right. Speaking of closing it out, how about edge Antoine Higgins? He's in Cincinnati, Ohio, and somebody that Indiana's been involved with. How close are they to landing this elite pass rusher?
Yeah, I have Indiana as the leader there. He has a visit date, the official visit, same as Raheem Floyd for the end of April. I know they would love to close that one out and not let him get to his June official to Kentucky, who's the other school that's really pushing hard right now. Off-ball linebacker in high school, Indiana says he could play some edge. They've done a great job with guys at that position, in that front seven. I know he likes their aggressiveness, likes their winning ways, and I think Indiana also has a shot to add him in late April there when he takes his official to town. So I have a prediction in. I think Indiana's the leader there far and away. Kentucky's starting to make a little bit of noise there as well, though.
Yeah, and here we are. We're sitting here at the very end of March. We're going to be talking Indiana all offseason long. Make sure you guys are subscribed. And it sounds like, Alan, around the country, commitment season is generally July, August, but it seems like Indiana is going to ramp things up next month. Are you expecting Indiana, a bulk of this class to kind of come together in the month of April?
I do. Well, I at least think that's going to be the attempt. And I think there are several, when we look at their board, several recruits who are close to doing that. I mentioned the aggressiveness, and you talked about the spots. It's like, hey, do you want to come play for the national champion? Well, there's some other guys who want to do that. So you may want to think about wrapping this thing up.
Yeah, hey, we've seen it with Georgia. We've seen it with Alabama. At times, Texas spots are at a premium. Never thought we'd be saying it with the Indiana Hoosiers, but over the last 2 years, this momentum has been building, and now, the winning has followed, and they sit in a position of power. It's pretty cool to watch.
Absolutely. You know what? You saw it in the transfer portal where they had some guys on campus. Nick Marsh had other visits scheduled after he was supposed to visit Indiana and closed it down on his visit. So I think they're going to translate what they did in the portal over to this spring visit season here.
Josh Hoover. Didn't take any trips, knew exactly where he wanted to go. Indiana knew who they wanted. He knew where he wanted to go. They got it done. So we are going to see what happens in the month of April. But Indiana fans, talk with us. How you feeling? Who do you think the next commitment's going to be for the Hoosiers? Let us know. Comment section below.